Barbie. You know her, you love her, and if you're me, you spent your childhood obsessed with her movies. I always wanted the clothes in these movies, but funnily enough, never Barbie's clothes. I was obsessed with the side characters, and in Fairytopia, it was Azura. Thus, the idea for a Barbie Fairytopia dress was born. Supplies-wise, we've got blue organza, we've got a blue bed sheet, we've got blue paint, purple dye, and glitter spray. And then also over here in the closet, I have a pair of slippers that are orange that I think I'm going to paint blue and put like little leaves and things all over. So now we can get to making it. First, I use an old bodice to trace out a pattern onto the blue bodice fabric. Then I cut that out. After that, I run it under the sewing machine, and I repeat those steps to where I have 2 of them once I'm finished. I end up cutting up a lot of this bodice, so it's really whatever you like at this point. Then you go with the blue organza, cut out a big rectangle of it, and run a stitch along the top and bottom and gather. Then you need to realize that you have put them together entirely wrong and you need to redo it. Okay, this is how it's actually supposed to look. It's supposed to be fabric right side up, chiffon or whatever, and then this fabric right side down. And I'm going to go ahead and sandwich my little eyelet pieces in between like this. And then sew all around the sides and the top, leaving the bottom open. That should be correct. If it's not, I'm going to lose it. Second time's the charm. It worked. This is the top. And it has the lining and the outside. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull these flat and secure it with stitching to where they hold their shape. And then we can get started on whatever's next. Whatever's next is cutting out the skirt. I took the bed sheet and made sure the hemmed edge was facing down and then cut a long rectangle the length that I wanted it. I then ran a gathering stitch all along the top and gathered that up. Try that on and you've got an underskirt. I also tried it on my mannequin with a petticoat and it's nice and poofy. I'm now cutting out the petals. These I just kind of made vaguely petal shaped and as large as I thought I would need for 4 to cover the skirt. I think this came out to about 22 inches across for each petal. I cut out 2 layers of the organza and 1 layer of the blue underskirt fabric for each petal. Then I layered them organza, and plain fabric, and sewed all around the edges of them with a zigzag stitch and a wire caught between the zigzag stitches. This holds out the petals once they're flipped right side out. After I've flipped my first petal right side out, wow, I look so excited, don't I? This is my focused face, so it's not great. I ran the petal under the iron, and then I ran a gathering stitch all along the top of the petal. And once it's put on top of the overskirt, it looks a little something like this. Now repeat that step. I ended up with 4 large petals and 5 small petals. And then I went to work and watched Rachel Maxey. So, making a waistband. Take the top part of the sheet that was there earlier and then just take off where it's sewn together, leaving the folded edge. And that leaves you with this open piece here. And what you're going to do is you're going to be able to fold it in like this, to create a new clean edge, and we're going to sandwich the skirt right in there. As far as the skirt goes, we have 4 big petals, 5 tiny petals, that one got cut up. We have a test piece of fabric, and we have the base of the skirt, and all of this, I'm going to test the dye on the fabric and see how I like the effect. I think I'm going to spray it. And then we're going to probably jump right into spraying these pieces on the cardboard so they can have a chance to dry overnight a little, and then I'll do that tomorrow. I then proceeded to spray the ever-loving life out of these pieces, and I'm quite happy with how it came out. It's a little messy, but then again, so is most of the stuff that I do. I went ahead and did the top as well. And here's what all the pieces look like when I left them to dry overnight.
To the waistband and sew it all together, I have to attach the petals onto the skirt. So I just made marks on where the middle and the ends are, and from there I'm going to arrange the large petals gathered into the top and pin them in place. And then I'm going to put these smaller petals on top of that and then sew that all down so that none of it slides around while I'm putting it into the waistband. Alrighty, row. I have the skirt put together with all 3 layers, the underskirt, the big petals, and the small petals, and I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. So the next step is to take the waistband, and we're going to sandwich this skirt in between the 2 layers, and this is just to hold it all together for strength. You won't actually see this waistband in the end. And because it's getting too thick to put under the machine, I'm going to hand sew. Really can't see the needle on camera, huh?
Here I am flipping the bodice over and just making sure that that bottom edge gets folded up and hand sewn in place so that it isn't visible. Next, I'm taking the same method I used to make the big petals, and I made a bunch of tiny petals to put all along the bodice top and iron those in place.
The bottom together at the waist, and I'm going to sew it at the waist, but as I was pinning it, I hate the way these black eyelets look because they're just ugly. I mean, like, they're cute on their own, but they just don't match like the whole floaty fairy vibe. So I'm gonna see if I can kind of rework this into closing differently. So I'm gonna sew this up, cut the black stuff off, and then come up with a plan B. I'm beginning to prep to hand sew on the straps, and I'm realizing that today is quite possibly the worst day to hand sew, but I need to because time stuff. But this hand I smashed into a cabinet yesterday, and so I have open cuts on my knuckles and on my pinky, and then I have bruises on these 2 knuckles, and then on this hand I just caught this in the edge of a mirror like frame, and so it bent my finger, and now there's a bruise starting under my fingernail on that hand. And then also on my knee on this leg, I managed to cut it up because there was a needle in my boots last night, and I did not know that, and it scratched my knee while I was trying to get my boots on twice. So I'm just gonna hand sew on the straps now, and hopefully I'll be happy with it by then. So, waistband's been dyed, straps are sewn on. The front is looking surprisingly how I wanted it to, except for the fact that these aren't laying quite right and it's puffy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my trusty dusty, handy dandy, my glue gun, and I'm going to start pinching the organza and just putting a little dot of glue to where it holds in place. I'm going to do this on a couple bits of this just so she has a snatched waist, and then I'll probably do a little bit of glue here just so these lay just how I want them to because they're a little crooked at the moment.
When making the shoes, I made a gradient that is kind of a bluish purple. It looks very blue on camera though. And I did that all over the visible parts of the shoes, and I also ended up taking some green paper and making little leaves, scrunching them up and hot gluing them onto the shoes. I also ended up going in later and putting on flowers.
Glitter test. Oh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, just wrapping it up now. Another project down, yay! I am very happy with how this came out. If I had to change anything, I think it would be probably just the way everything ended up closing was annoying to have to redo that bit. So definitely
think a little harder about that next time. Oh, and also next time I just definitely need to buy a bra, or at least some actual T-tape or something, because I just used the supplies that I had on hand and it was okay, but it wasn't skin toned, so it looked kind of weird if anything shifted. Otherwise though, I'm really happy with it. I love how it looks because it doesn't look exactly like a Barbie cosplay, but it looks kind of Fairytopia-esque, and so that just made me so happy wearing it. And I look forward to the next project. See you soon. Someday soon, we're gonna find it.